And welcome to the squat chain or lower body edition of the R.D.P video library on overcoming isometrics. 3 things to know before we get started. First off, all of the exercises are time-stamped down below in the description, so if you want to use this video for future reference or skip ahead to exercises, you can find that down below. Second, if you want to learn more about overcoming isometrics as well as how to program it into your workouts, consider my book Overcoming Isometrics on Amazon. Link is down below as well. And third, I'm using a tool in this that I call my Iso Loop, which is basically a long nylon strap with a good sturdy buckle. If you have like a yoga strap or suspension or ring straps, that can work just fine as well. But if you want to learn more about how you can make your own, check out this video here for more. All right, with that said, let's jump into it. Isometric lunges with the Iso Loop is a simple enough exercise to bring a lot of tension into the forward leg. To set up, bring the strap underneath the front of your front heel of the working leg with the other knee on the ground. Run the strap over the opposite shoulder while having it also around your hip. From there, drive as hard as you can into your heel, keeping your torso slightly upright. Forward lean is permissible, and press as hard as you can. Be aware that this is a little bit of a stability challenge the first time you do it, so a little bit of wobbling back and forth is to be expected. It's a great way to also make sure that your hips are engaged with your legs as well. I recommend pushing the knees and the hips forward, not having a 90-degree angle. That way you're not feeling like you're getting pulled forward too much, and it also helps to engage the hips. One of the tips that helps also is have the same angle with the upper body as your shin. That way you have a better alignment while the knee is ever so slightly turned in towards your center line, so that way the external hips or your abductors are working as well. You can do this also with the squats. Iso Loop squats are a very comprehensive leg exercise. Do be aware you're going to need to feel like you drive your knees apart while doing this to engage your hips and have your squat at about a 90-degree angle. Simply slip it on and off to begin. Iso Loop hip work is extremely effective at targeting your hips, both the abductors, the flexors, and the extensors. You run the loop around your ankles about a foot distance from your feet, but place it wherever you feel is most comfortable and pull as hard as you can against the strap. The key here is you want to make sure both legs are completely straight. You don't want to have any bend if possible in the knee, which will compromise the amount of tension in your hips. Also dorsiflex and pull your toes up, and in the forward position, bring your toes ever so slightly inwards to make sure that you're hitting those front hips optimally. Try not to move your upper body around too much. A little bit of movement is permissible, but you want to make sure that you're getting most of the motion in the actual hips as opposed to a lot of motion in your upper body. Also keep in mind you're going to be using both hips while you're doing this. The hips of your standing leg are being used for stability. One of the non-Iso Loop exercises that's great is the classic wall sit. Now this is a little bit different from what you may have done in gym class, where instead of just holding yourself, you're actively using your quads to drive your tailbone as hard as you can into the wall to engage your legs. This will not only work your quads to a large degree, but you also may feel it in the hips, particularly oddly enough, your hip flexors. Very good for improving hip stability, and make sure that you're not driving your weight too much on the balls of your feet, but your heels. Also in that same genre is the Iso Loop Sissy Squat. Kneeling down on the floor, the loop is around your ankles and your hips, and it's permissible to hang on to something just for the sake of balance. Here I'm basically trying to stand up, bringing my hips away from my ankles, but the loop is preventing me from doing so. Much like with the squats, you're going to feel the loop trying to squeeze your knees together, so this is also very good for the hips as you slightly pull your knees apart or abduct your thighs to make sure that the hips are engaging with your quadriceps, which are working overtime in order to work against the strap. Very effective warm-up for squats. And then we also have the Iso Loop donkey calf raise. This is a great isometric calf exercise where you take the loop it under the balls of your feet and on top of your hips. You don't want this so much on your lower back. Here in the image, it is a little bit high. You want it more on the top of your pelvis, and adjust the loop so that you have either a slight bend in your knees or your legs are pretty straight. Holding onto something for balance and just driving your hips up as hard as you can by flexing your calves or extending your ankles to make your calves work hard as possible. You probably need a little bit more weight on the outside of your feet in order to make that happen. So those are the basic exercises. As always, if you want to learn more about the iso loop, check out the video here. Learn more about overcoming isometrics in general, my book, Overcoming Isometrics. And as always, thoughts and questions down below are welcome. Thanks so much for watching. Be fit and live free.